What was unique about the trimotor is that it had this incredible ability to take off and land in a short distance. The trade-off, because we didn't know much about aerodynamics by comparison to today, obviously, no wind tunnels or anything. The trade-off was that it was a very, very slow airplane. The reason that it did short field takeoffs was quite simple. Airports were 40-acre cow pastures. O'Hare was an orchard. The New York airports, the Miami airport, the Wichita, these are all grass runways, and the runways weren't all that long. So to start an airline, you needed an all-metal airplane east of Wichita, actually east of Kansas City. Back in the late 20s, there was a terrible accident, and it killed a famous football coach. His name was Newt Blackney.
Yeah.
Newt was killed in a Fokker, which is a Dutch-German airplane. Fokker had a wood wing. The spar, the heavy member in the wing, was made out of laminated wood. And they had a glue failure. Hit a bump and that was it. Well, the end of Newt Rockney. Well, communication wasn't as instant as it is today, but rumors were deadly. And you couldn't sell another Fokker in this country. That was it. So the only thing that's going to work was an all-metal airliner. So Ford deliberately built an all-metal airplane. They put 3 engines on it for only one reason, and that was the perception of a reliability problem. So we're right after World War I, when literally the first production airplane engines were coming down the line in World War I. So a lot of airplanes had surplus World War I engines, and everybody knew that airplane engines were unreliable. So Ford said all metal and 3 of these engines. So what do you think about that, general public? And the public accepted it. So they did everything right. The airplane had a very short-lived career with the major airlines. It got them berthed, but it did not have sustainability because of speed. 85 miles per hour. Douglas and Boeing came out with airplanes that were 185 miles per hour. That was the next generation. And then after that, the next generation of airplanes went to 250 miles an hour, and then 350, and then 400, and then 500, and so on and so forth. But when the Ford came out, 40-acre fields, just square grass, they're called airfields. Field as in farmer's field. And to this day, you'll see on maps, particularly Rand McNally, if you look at an automotive map from Rand McNally, it'll refer to airfields. It's still there. They're airports, but that's the trimotor could safely go in and out of these fields, and without infrastructure. The infrastructure followed thanks to the trimotor. Terminal buildings happened. Paved runways happened. Those long skinny ribbons that we go nice and fast and then take off or we land on didn't happen until after the trimotor. The first paved runway in the world was at Ford Airport in Detroit, where the trimotor was built. That's a really important thing. That's where the first hotel for air travelers was. It's where the first terminal building for air travelers was. It was literally the birthplace. So anyway, the Fords were pretty much done in scheduled service by about 1934. The airlines had replaced them with bigger, faster, farther flying airplanes, more all-weather capability. So they then went to developing nations. And the story of this trimotor is not unlike most of them. Ours inaugurated Eastern Airlines. It arrived at Eastern in October of 1929. It was there for a year. Of course, that's when the great stock market crash arrived, October of '29, so the timing is interesting. The airplane flew for Eastern for 1 year and then was leased out to a division of Pan Am called Cubana de Curtis de Aviation, which was a flying school owned by Pan Am. And this is before Cuba was communist. The airplane inaugurated Cubana Airlines. That was a big deal. So in its first 2 years, it inaugurated 2 major airlines. Then it left to go to the Dominican Republic. It finally came back into the United States in 1949. And from 49 until 73, it did a bunch of different cool stuff. It was a crop duster 2 different times. And it was a smoke jumper and borate bomber 2 different times for different operators. And then it was a barnstormer. And a barnstormer means you just simply travel around the country hopping rides, which is exactly what we're doing with it now for this museum that owns it. Barnstorming is a holdover from the 20s, but no one's ever invented a better word, so we're proud of it. We acquired the airplane in 1973. It was at
That's EAA.
EAA. And EAA is the Experimental Aircraft Association. We're a 190,000 member worldwide organization of aviation enthusiasts.